Insurance fraud in the UK has hit epidemic levels. It's costing us over £2 billion every year. That's almost £6 million every day. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injuries, even phantom pets. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing. And every year it's adding over £50 to your insurance bill. But insurers are fighting back, exposing 15 fake claims every hour. Armed with covert surveillance systems,
subject out the vehicle,
sophisticated data analysis techniques, and a highly skilled, dedicated police unit, they're catching the criminals red-handed.
Just don't lie to us.
All those con men, scammers, and cheats on the fiddle are now caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Coming up, a fraudulent cyclist takes his claim up a gear.
All in all, we estimated that he would be seeking around £3 million in damages.
Stop, look and listen. This woman certainly didn't.
Suddenly a large object has struck you, you've fallen down. You see your life flashing before your eyes.
And the police's insurance fraud enforcement department is out to catch some bad guys.
Still get quite a buzz when you're sort of knocking on somebody's door and talking out the baddies.
Life goes in cycles. Well, it certainly does for the 13 million people in the UK who regularly get on their bikes. But accidents do happen, and it's often the cyclist that comes off a lot worse. And in August 2008, Majid Khan was no exception.
Mr. Khan was cycling to work actually early one morning, and a vehicle which was insured by ourselves actually had a collision with him, and Mr. Khan was actually very seriously injured.
He had fractures of various vertebrae, multiple rib fractures and lacerations to his liver. He also had a brain hemorrhage and skull fractures. He was in hospital for around a month.
Insurance payouts on serious cycling accidents like this can be massive. And there was no doubt that Majid Khan would need financial help.
An accident like this, for us, it's more about how long it takes to recover and how full the recovery actually is.
Although Majid Khan had been severely injured in the accident, 9 months later he made what was thought to be a full recovery and even returned back to work.
Everything was proceeding pretty normally as a claim. We were investigating it, we were working with his lawyers.
We offered Majid Khan £75,000 in damages, and that offer was initially rejected.
With a cash offer refused and what appeared to be a full recovery, the insurers and solicitors thought Mr. Khan had simply got back on his bike and got on with life. But 6 months later, that all changed when Majid Khan's father-in-law got in touch.
He seemed to have a complete relapse. He could only recognise his wife. He was struggling with day-to-day activities. He was unable to walk down the road unaided.
We were told that Mr. Khan wasn't allowed out of the house on his own because his family feared that he would just wander aimlessly. He had no sense of danger, and so he wouldn't have been able to cross roads safely. We were also told that he had no concept of money, so he wouldn't be able to go to the shop and purchase an item. He wouldn't be able to check the change. He'd forgotten how to do basic tasks like using a mobile telephone. What they were alleging was that he was so severely disabled by these injuries that he would need 24-hour care and supervision, and they were alleging that would go on for the rest of his life.
Around-the-clock care would cost millions, £3 million to be exact. That's how much Mr. Khan's family claimed they needed to look after him. But it just didn't add up.
We knew that this was a man who had returned to work, and all of a sudden we were being told that he couldn't work and would never work, and that he was severely disabled.
With suspicions high, the insurance company decided to employ its best tactic in suspected fraudulent claims: surveillance footage.
Sometimes with surveillance, you don't believe that the person you're seeing is the claimant in this action.
The footage was shocking, to say the least.
You can sum up the CCTV footage very easily. It's everything that he claimed he couldn't do, the CCTV showed us that he could do.
The medical experts have been told that Majid Khan didn't smoke. He was seen to smoke quite a few cigarettes. They were told that he wasn't permitted out of the house on his own, yet we saw him out apparently running errands and in some cases looking after small children. That he wouldn't be capable of shopping for himself and that he had no concept of money, yet we see him going into the local shop. That he had forgotten how to do basic tasks such as using a mobile telephone, yet he's seen having quite a long conversation with somebody on a phone. They've been told that he couldn't communicate with anybody, and again he's seen out conversing and laughing with others.
The Majid Khan on the surveillance footage was so unrecognisable from the one described on the insurance claim that even the solicitors had to double-check.
We sent it to the expert who had examined Majid Khan on our behalf during the claim, and it was only once he confirmed that he recognised the man in the footage as the claimant that we were then able to think about disclosing it.
To add insult to injury, the investigation also uncovered pay slips which showed Majid Khan was in full-time employment.
We looked at some of his pay slips and he was working full-time. In fact, he was working overtime.
He'd been peddling so many lies, the case was taken to court.
The judge said that it had been a relatively sophisticated fraud, that it was a grotesque exaggeration, and that everything Majid Khan had done had been a pack of lies.
Majid Khan and his father-in-law were both banged up for 9 months.
We now have a family who has been split up because of their own greed. The grandfather is in prison, the father is in prison, and the mother is now at home trying to cope with a young child on her own.
Unlike some unscrupulous fraudsters, Mr. Khan had genuinely suffered life-threatening injuries and was eventually paid £75,000 compensation.
Mr. Khan absolutely was injured, and we paid the amount of money which we believe covered him for those injuries. The whole issue here is that he took a case where he was injured and then tried to make millions of pounds out of it.
From an original offer of £75,000 for his cycling accident, Majid Khan had pumped up his claim to £3 million. But he was left deflated when he received 9 months behind bars.
Once that lie had been struck, he stuck with that lie. Unfortunately, Mr. Khan is now in jail and will have 9 months to contemplate that issue.
Majid Khan won't now receive the proper compensation to which he was entitled because nobody knows what the effects of the accident truly were on his life.
Coming up, a 15-ton bus gets pushy.
Suddenly a large object has struck you, you've fallen down, you see your life flashing before your eyes.
And an insurance company takes a crash-for-cash criminal to the cleaners.
The evidence was so overwhelmingly strong, we felt it right to make an example of Mr. Singh.
The Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, or IFED for short, is an insurance scammer's worst nightmare.
There is a dedicated 40-strong unit that work 24/7 hunting down insurance fraudsters.
The team was set up over 2 years ago to crack down on insurance crime in the UK.
Is there anything here that shouldn't be here that we're going to find?
In that time, it's made over 450 arrests and seen around 200 prosecutions.
If it's a fraud, it's in insurance, then it may well come to IFED's attention and IFED will take the necessary action.
Police officers, can you come to the door, please?
Unscrupulous fraudsters will stop at nothing in their lust for cash. And with street crime on the increase, why would anyone question a woman who appears to be the unlucky victim of a series of muggings?
Mugging can be a terrifying experience, especially for someone who's a vulnerable victim like a young lady. it can have a traumatic effect on the person that suffered it.
In February 2012, Anita Debnath claimed she was mugged in Trafalgar Square. With over 15 million visitors to the capital every year, it was an unlucky but not necessarily unusual crime to be a victim of, and she immediately reported it to the police.
She's lost various items, all high value, all top of the range smartphones, top of the range designer bags, top of the range purses.
A month later, she was mugged again on a trip to Leeds. Apparently a mugger's magnet, her run of bad luck didn't end there, as she was the victim again 3 months later in Dublin. And then again in Kingston upon Thames. On each occasion, she claimed her handbag had contained more electrical gadgets than MI5. But 4 flyby fleecings just didn't add up.
I would say you're very unlucky if you've been mugged once in a year. To be mugged 4 times in a year, in 4 different locations, in 2 different countries, is almost an impossibility.
Anita Debnath thought that if she played the victim, insurance companies would take pity on her and simply hand over £50,000 in claims.
Anita Debnath invented the muggings to generate some sort of, maybe some sympathy with the insurer, and also the hope that they wouldn't drill too deep into that particular offence. I think as she said she lost her purse on the bus or on the underground, you may have got a different response to saying that she'd actually been robbed in the street. I think that was her way of thinking that she would get an easier ride.
The real mugger in this case was Anita. She claimed from 11 different insurance companies for her made-up muggings.
She obviously felt that she would get the cheque sent through to her at the relevant time once the claim had been settled. Unfortunately for her, she was wrong because the insurers were sharing information. Her pattern of offending emerged, and it was that sheer volume that brought it to the attention of the insurers.
And by reporting the fake crimes to help bolster her claims, Anita Debnath had also robbed the police of their time.
I'd take a particularly dim view of the way Anita Debnath's operated. Street robbery and mugging is a serious offence which would have been treated accordingly by the relevant police force. She's quite happy to waste their time. Officers would have been allocated to investigate that robbery that never occurred.
Anita Debnath had travelled round Britain and Ireland carrying out what she thought was a mugging masterpiece. But her final destination was the Old Bailey.
There were 12 charges of fraud by false representation, to which she pleaded guilty to each one, and the judge sentenced her to 2 years, 3 months custodial sentence.
Anita Debnath thought she could mug the insurers of £50,000. But she was the real loser. And for her lies and deception, she ended up with a long stretch behind bars.
I'm pleased with this particular sentence because I believe it sends out a message that insurance fraud isn't a victimless crime, and it also isn't a crime without consequence.
A vital part of IFED's work is the early morning raid. The element of surprise is a powerful weapon, which enables officers to seize crucial evidence before it's destroyed. For Detective Constable Kate Sibley, it's the highlight of months of investigation.
You still get quite a buzz when you're knocking on somebody's door and taking out the baddies. But then I think it's good that you do have a bit of adrenaline pumping, because you don't know what's going to happen when they open that door.
This morning, Kate is on a double raid. Her colleague, DS Mark Forster, is driving to the other location as part of a joint investigation into a suspected crash for cash claim.
The actual collision has been staged. Effectively, one car has been driven into another car. They've all submitted claims for the damage of the vehicle, recovery costs, and also personal injury.
As this is a multiple raid, it's essential that both teams go in at the same time.
Can we come in and speak to your son, please? Yeah. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Police officers from the City of London Police. Are they here?
Right now they're not here.
Where are they?
They've gone out work.
Gone out work. Can we come in? We've got a warrant to enter and search the premises.
IFED never take anything at face value, so Kate decides to look for the suspects herself.
Okay, where in?
They're upstairs.
They're upstairs. I did ask you that when I came in.
Did you?
Yeah.
At the other property, Mark has also found the suspect at home with his family.
Right, take a seat for me, please, mate. Just listen to what I'm going to say to you. All right, listen carefully because it is important. All right? I'm arresting you on suspicion of conspiracy to defraud. You conspired with others in order to submit a fraudulent insurance claim in relation to a vehicle collision.
We have a warrant to enter and search these premises as well. So we'll search your bedrooms.
They might be investigating fraud, but they still have to tread carefully when it comes to house rules.
Can we take our shoes off before we go upstairs?
Upstairs, Kate's looking for any computer equipment that may have been used in the alleged fraud.
I'm seizing a laptop that I found and a mobile phone so far, but I've still got all this to do. The phones will be downloaded to get a list of all the phone numbers and calls, and we'll get a list of all the calls that have been made to see if we can link them up to the other suspects that have been arrested. And with the computer, that'll be downloaded, so hopefully there'll be documentation or emails on there in relation to the claims that have been made.
At the other location, Mark also needs to seize any electrical devices.
You got a mobile phone?
Yeah.
Where's that in your room?
In my pocket, yeah.
You got it there?
Yeah.
Whilst the phones are important, IFED is also looking for any paperwork that may show any fraudulent activity.
We found some documentation in relation to another accident claim already. It's not an accident that we're aware of at the moment. We need to clarify exactly who's involved in that claim and the nature of it, but we can obviously do check with insurance companies to find out a little bit more about them.
There appears like there's at least 2 more here in this bedroom. I found details of a further claim, may well be legitimate, but it's something we need to look into. It's certainly stuff that we're interested in at the moment. We'll take it away.
It's essential that nothing is touched by the family as IFED conducts its search.
Excuse me, can I just ask you to leave that there for me, please? Yeah, please. You can stand and watch me. I'm not going to. But I just don't want you sort of interfering with things before I've had a look at them.
Any unusually expensive insurance documents are also seized.
This particular insurance quotation we've got here is in relation to when the guy downstairs purchased them, and his insurance just for 1 year was in excess of £1,000 by anyone's standards. Paying out over £1,000 just for an insurance premium seems quite excessive.
It seems the paperwork in the house is raising a number of questions.
We've got 2 separate letters here which are addressed to this particular address. However, they're in a different name, and the name, the male's name listed on both of these 2 letters, as far as we're aware, doesn't reside here. But we'll obviously take these away, make some more inquiries and interview the suspect downstairs as to who this particular individual is.
At the other property, DC Tom Hill is assisting Kate in the search. No cupboard is left untouched.
This is all stuff in the suspect's name. So obviously I'm searching a bit more closely through it all, because it's not his bedroom, but he seems to use this as a, maybe to store his documents.
With all the evidence seized, bagged and removed from the property, Kate reflects on the morning's results.
We've done a search, we've seized computers, thumb drives, mobile telephones, the stuff we wanted to seize, and then we'll get that downloaded and examined, and hopefully we'll get some evidence of that. And now they've been arrested, they're going back to the police station where we'll interview them, and they'll probably be bailed later on today.
At the second location, Mark and his team have also called it a day.
Yeah, it's been a success. We've got the 4 prisoners that we've come out to get, all been arrested, all now in custody. What we often find is where there's one claim, there are numerous previous claims, and that certainly seems to be the case searching this address. So a number of inquiries to be done on those. But yeah, it's been a success.
The case is still under investigation. First Group transports over 2 million passengers every day. Each double-decker weighs in at a whopping 15 tons of steel. Not something you really want to have a run-in with. But if you are bashed by a bus, your case may well end up on Lee Ingram's desk.
The lady alleged that she was walking along the path. She's looked to the left, looked to the right. There's nothing coming, so she's decided to cross the road. As she decided to cross the road, a bus has come out of nowhere, struck her. According to her, she was thrown to the pavement very hard. Her bag and her contents hit the floor and spilled everywhere.
Even though the bus was travelling at low speed, the impact shocked the passengers on board.
She described being hit so hard that she thought she was finished. Suddenly a large object has struck you, you've fallen down. You see your life flashing before your eyes, and it's a terrifying ordeal for anyone to have gone through.
To add insult to injury, in her moment of need, the woman claims she was left abandoned at the roadside.
She's alleging that no one offered her any help. She couldn't get home, she didn't have any taxi fare. The fact that no one had offered her assistance or even offered to call her an ambulance, get her off the floor, yeah, a very sad indictment of society nowadays.
Still, every cloud has a silver lining, and this woman thought it came in the form of an insurance payout.
The lady claimed for physical and mental injuries. She was also claiming that she was unable to look after her children because of this accident. Therefore, her husband had to take 2 weeks off work. No wages coming in, couldn't pay her rent, couldn't pay her bills.
Some people will exaggerate their claims of illness. Some even tell the odd fib about them. So Lee always has a look at the CCTV footage before he reaches for his checkbook.
When I first looked at the CCTV footage, you can see that the bus has impacted with the woman. It's definitely not the front of the bus, more to the side.
The average bus has twice as many eyes as a spider, so Lee sets about looking at all 16 cameras to find out just how badly knocked the woman was.
When you look at the second camera, it shows that the incident isn't as serious as she's described. She hasn't actually fallen over at all. It was her handbag that's actually hit the floor.
Hold on, let's have a look at that again.
She has amazingly been hit by a bus and stayed on her feet.
The woman thought she was on a ticket to ride, but the only part of her that was left sprawled on the floor was her handbag. And was she really left stranded by the side of the road?
When we reviewed all of our evidence, including the CCTV footage, we were quite happy that the circumstances she described just weren't right. So we then wrote to her explaining what had really happened in the incident, which she must have known whether she'd hit the ground or not. We subsequently said we were not going to be paying her claim, and she has now gone away.
So basically, she walked away with just a nasty scuff to her handbag. With insurance fraud reaching critically high levels, the Insurance Fraud Bureau was created 8 years ago to clamp down on organised insurance fraud and protect innocent customers.
We essentially collate all the data from the industry and we help find the large-scale networks of organised fraud that individual insurers can't spot themselves.
Its biggest headache is crash for cash cases, where scammers either cause accidents or just pretend they've been involved in one. And more often than not, it isn't just the insurance companies who are the victims.
Crash for cash is a dangerous type of fraud. These people are taking vehicles out onto the road and they're essentially using them as weapons because they're driving one car into a collision with another, and often at quite high speed. We know that can lead to injuries, and ultimately we know it's led to at least one fatality.
With around 70,000 personal injury claims linked to crash for cash, insurers like LV are always suspicious when these types of claims are made. just like the one from Mr. Michael Singh.
It was alleged that the claimant was driving along a main road when our policyholder came out of a side road into his path and a collision occurred, injuring not just the occupants in his vehicle but also occupants in our vehicle. Multiple whiplash injuries, an awful lot of expense in terms of vehicle damage, totalling in excess of £100,000.
With a 6-figure settlement and 7 different claims of personal injury, LV were becoming increasingly suspicious of the alleged accident.
We realised that this particular claim was being managed through a claims management company that was well known to us for providing fraudulent claims.
Incredibly, some people will damage their own car to make it look like an accident. And after a forensic engineer had looked at Mr. Singh's car, it was obvious there was no side-on smash.
What it was consistent was to a raking impact, potentially down the side of a wall, which alerted our suspicions to the fact that this car could easily have been deliberately damaged to portray having been involved in an accident.
There was also no police report, and the insurance policy had been taken out just days before the smash, so LV decided they weren't going to pay out.
However, he didn't let it lie and decided to pursue the claim further, and with the help of his lawyers issued proceedings against our customer for his injuries and the damage to his vehicle.
Mr. Singh had more front than Blackpool. Not happy that his fraudulent claim had been turned down, he decided to take LV to court for the money. With such strong evidence in the insurer's favour, the case was thrown out. But LV didn't want to leave it there.
On this occasion, the evidence was so overwhelmingly strong, we felt it right to make an example of Mr. Singh, not just to him and his relatives and those involved in the accident management company, but also to the wider population. So we decided to bring our own proceedings through the civil courts to prosecute Mr. Singh for contempt. He was given a custodial sentence of 8 months.
Mr. Singh spent 8 months in prison for lying about his scamming in court. Cases like these are crucial in the clampdown on crash for cash, which is financially crippling the industry.
The industry estimate that crash for cash scams in total cost about £400 million a year, and that cost is ultimately passed on to all of us, you and I, who pay insurance premiums.
Often seen as a crime without time, cases like the LV one are helping the IFB in their fight against crash for cash criminals.
Insurance fraud has probably been historically seen as an easy target, so if anybody thinks they can still do this and get away with it, my message is you can't.
Insurance fraud in the UK has hit epidemic levels. It's costing us over £2 billion every year. That's almost £6 million every day. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injuries, even phantom pets. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing, and every year it's adding over £50 to your insurance bill. But insurers are fighting back, exposing 15 fake claims every hour. Armed with covert surveillance systems,
that's the subject out the vehicle,
sophisticated data analysis techniques, and a highly skilled, dedicated police unit.
Police, don't move, stay where you are!
They're catching the criminals red-handed.
Just don't lie to us.
All those con men, scammers, and cheats on the fiddle are now caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Today, a staggering personal injury scam that was fueled by lies and greed.
Her claim had risen to approximately £740,000.
An IFED raid develops into a drug bust.
It's something that I've not seen before in 9 years of policing.
And the extraordinary lengths that a mother of 3 went to in order to cash in.
She forged the signature of the doctor
and also made a stamp from the surgery to authenticate the policy.
It's a simple fact of life that accidents do happen. But thanks to insurance policies, in many cases we are entitled to compensation for these unforeseen mishaps. Local councils see more than their fair share of personal injury claims. But Haringey Council know better than most that when it comes to compensation, some people are never satisfied. In 2008, they received a complaint from local resident Barbara Farai.
Mrs. Farai claimed that she fell over while she was walking with her granddaughter. She claimed that she tripped and she fell and she hurt her knee. And she said she'd tripped and fallen on a broken paving stone.
With the level of wear and tear that road and pavements are subjected to, incidents like this are inevitable. So Haringey Council began their usual procedure for such a claim and launched an inquiry.
Homes for Haringey didn't dispute the fact that she had fallen, that she had suffered injuries, and the council, when it investigated that claim, found that it had been negligent in maintaining that section of pavement.
So, we have a genuine claim for a fall that actually happened, and the council had admitted negligence. Sounds like a textbook case for compensation. What could possibly go wrong?
Her initial claim was for damage to her knee. The council made an offer which was approximately £7,500 on the basis that Homes for Haringey's assessment of the injuries were that it would have resolved itself within a 3 to 6 month timescale.
£7,500 for an injured knee seems fair enough. But Barbara Farai didn't agree and decided to take matters into her own hands.
She submitted her own medical expert opinion to say that she was severely incapacitated by the fall and the injuries were likely to be ongoing and severe. We sent Mrs. Farai to our own medical experts who agreed that her injuries were substantial and likely to be continuing beyond the initial 3 to 6 months original prognosis.
In light of the revised assessment of her injuries, Barbara Farai submitted a new claim for compensation. Although it's fair to say that the amount she was asking for isn't quite what the council were expecting.
Mrs. Farai claimed that her quality of life had altered so substantially that her claim had risen to approximately £740,000.
For those of you who aren't mathematically minded, that's almost 100 times the figure that Barbara Farai was originally offered. But how did she get to such an inflated amount?
She claimed her husband had to give up his work to care for her 24 hours a day. She claimed for additional care support beyond her family. It was for out-of-pocket expenses for taxis, for additional expenses as a result of not being able to live her life normally as she claimed to have done before.
The level of care and assistance that Barbara Farai was claiming for was so extensive that Haringey Council began to have serious doubts about the legitimacy of her claim, so they decided to investigate further.
We made a decision to put Mrs. Farai under surveillance to see if what she was claiming was actually true in her day-to-day life. It was felt that Mrs. Farai thought that she was being followed and resorted to using crutches and getting support from her family members. However, when she felt like that she wasn't being followed, the crutches were dispensed with and she was able to walk normally, including carrying heavy bags of shopping up and down the hill, entering the house without difficulty. So the surveillance activity in this case we felt was, not only was it justified, it supported the Homes for Haringey's case against Mrs. Farai.
With the video evidence clearly showing that Barbara Farai's claims were untrue, her case for compensation was falling down. And as Haringey Council's investigations continued, they discovered the severity of her injuries weren't the only thing that Mrs. Farai had been less than truthful about.
Mrs. Farai's original statement made no mention of the fact that she had an existing condition of arthritis which affected her knee. Both her own medical expert and Homes for Haringey's insurer's medical expert agreed that they had both been misled by Mrs. Farai and revised their statements accordingly.
Barbara Farai's case was on dodgy ground, but she still had one last chance to set the record straight.
We presented the video surveillance to Mrs. Farai and her solicitor and invited her to revise her assessment of the £740,000 claim. Mrs. Farai declined that, and so the case went to court.
So, from an original offer of £7,500 for a legitimate claim, Barbara Farai's greed and fraudulent actions landed her in front of the judge in the High Court.
The judge made an assessment that her injuries were unlikely to continue beyond 3 months, and in his opinion, the claim should have amounted to no more than £1,500. As opposed to the £740,000 that she eventually claimed. In fact, the judge was of the opinion that she wasn't entitled to claim anything.
But unfortunately for Mrs. Farai, that was just the beginning.
After the judge had said that Mrs. Farai had lied to the court and to him, Mrs. Farai and her husband were found guilty of contempt of court. Mrs. Farai received a 3-month custodial prison sentence. The judge awarded costs to be paid by Mrs. Farai to Homes for Haringey of £100,000.
It's hard to believe, but what had begun as a genuine case for compensation had spiralled into a landmark legal case that sent a clear warning to anyone tempted to exaggerate a personal injury claim.
We're not an easy target. We will investigate any and all cases that we think are made fraudulently, and we will always seek the heaviest penalty.
Still to come, surprising discoveries.
Just stumbled across something that's quite important. It will have a big impact on the local community.
And a summer holiday scam.
What set out to be a family holiday in Lanzarote, it turned into a nightmare for her.
Owning a pet can be an expensive business. The good news is that a pet insurance premium can cover unforeseen vet bills and even pay out in the event that your furry friend is lost or passes away. But inevitably, some people have seen these policies as a means of pocketing a few quid. And in 2005, the insurance company Agria dealt with a policyholder who, it would turn out, lost pets with staggering regularity.
So the policyholder was a traveller who lived in Scotland, and part of the complication of the case was that he had multiple addresses. So very difficult to pin him down, very difficult to tie one address to another. The first claims received from this policyholder were for 2 St Bernard puppies. Now they were worth £850 each, and they'd just been lost.
Losing a set of keys or a £10 note is one thing, but to misplace a pair of St Bernard puppies, that really takes some doing. With no vet's records and a dubious set of circumstances, Agria had their doubts too.
It was very suspect. We just couldn't gather the evidence to prove that the puppies hadn't existed or the policyholder didn't own them. So the ultimate resolution to that was that we paid the case.
So that's one claim and one payout. Of course, it may have just been bad luck. However, less than a year later, another claim form landed on Agria's doorstep from the same policyholder. This time, it was £350 for a poodle puppy that had died. But once again, the details were sketchy at best.
It had an illness, but it hadn't seen a vet, so we couldn't establish that the animal actually existed or that the policyholder had owned the animal. And then when the animal died, there wasn't a veterinary certificate because the vet hadn't certified it dead.
With the claim raising so many unanswered questions, Agria rejected it and didn't pay the policyholder a penny.
It is possible that the policyholder could have been very unlucky. I think with the lack of pushback from them, perhaps we'd called or made the right call in that instance.
But this wasn't the last that Agria heard from the claimant, because just over 18 months later, they received another claim form. This time it was an encore of the Disappearing Dog Act, except that this one was a pedigree bulldog worth over £2,000.
The policyholder had set the puppy loose in the back garden, come back 10 minutes later, and the puppy was missing.
The puppy was actually a year old, but that wasn't the only thing about the claim that didn't quite add up.
Quite bizarrely, for a year-old animal, it had never seen a vet, so it had no veterinary records, and when the breeder had submitted the purchase receipt, surprisingly, it had got lost in the post.
Suspicious that the missing bulldog was in fact just a load of bull, Agria decided to investigate.
We'd sent the lot adjusters out. They couldn't verify that the puppy had or hadn't been lost, so on a balance of probabilities, we settled the claim.
So that's 3 claims and 2 payouts to the same policyholder. But just over a year later, Agria's paths crossed with the claimant once again, when they spotted something on the paperwork which set alarm bells ringing.
When the claim form came in, it was from a completely different address, from a completely different policyholder, but on the front of the claim form was one of the addresses that the previous policyholder had been using, and that address was given as the address of the breeder of the puppies. So instantly there, with the past history, there were suspicions raised.
Unsurprisingly, Agria wasted no time in investigating the claim, but when they visited the owner, they made a rather unusual discovery.
There was no indication that dogs had ever lived there in terms of bowls, in terms of leads, in terms of baskets, in terms of dog food. So we were highly suspicious.
After the visit, the owner ceased all communication with Agria, and with zero evidence that the dogs ever even existed, the case was closed. So that's 4 claims and 2 payouts. But you've guessed it, that wasn't the last time Agria dealt with what had to be the world's unluckiest dog owner.
In this instance, it was a pug puppy, and the pug puppy had got parvovirus. So this was a claim for veterinary fees. The puppy did subsequently die, but initially on the original claim, parvovirus is something that the insurance policies expect owners to vaccinate the animal against. Probably because of the nature of this dog owner, this breeder, this dog dealer, he hadn't bothered with the vaccinations. So no vaccinated puppy, we declined the claim.
This time, the owner's track record of never taking his dogs to the vet had backfired. And further investigations revealed he had another 6 policies in place ready to make claims on. Although as far as Agria was concerned, this dog had had its day.
But if people are determined to defraud insurers, sometimes they'll find a way. Luckily, in this instance, we stopped 3 cases, stopped a potential 6 others. The downside of that was we paid 2.
In January 2012, the police joined the fight against insurance fraud by forming an elite squad known as IFED, the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department.
I would say to anyone who's considering committing insurance fraud that now this is no longer a crime without consequence that it may have been in the past. There is a dedicated 40-strong unit known as IFED that work 24/7 hunting down insurance fraudsters.
They've made over 450 arrests and have saved millions of pounds in fraudulent insurance claims, money which ultimately goes back in our pockets. From now on, fraudsters need to watch their backs.
So if you're thinking about it, I suggest think again. There's every chance you'll get an IFED detective come knocking on your front door.
It's 5:30 a.m. and a team of IFED officers are on their way to give another suspected fraudster one of their unique wake-up calls. A man Taylor is heading up today's operation.
This morning we're going to an address to effect an arrest, hopefully of a male who we need to speak to regarding an insurance claim for the theft of his tools. They've subsequently paid him out £1,000 on the first occasion, and he's gone on to submit a further 3 claims, and they've paid out £1,000 in total.
It was the multiple claims on the suspect's contents insurance that led IFED to suspect foul play.
What we'll look to do this morning is to go in, arrest our suspect, and then search for any items relating to any offence, particularly fraud.
Having arrived at the address, the team prepare to go in.
We're from the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department of the City London Police, and we need to speak to him, all right?
The person who's answered the door is claiming the suspect is at work, but IFED officers are a tenacious bunch and have persuaded the person at the door to call the suspect. He's now on his way home and can look forward to a warm welcome from the IFED boys on his return.
He's at work, he's working night, so we've just phoned him and he's coming back. He'll be back within the hour so that we can hopefully speak to him there.
Sure enough, just under an hour later, the suspect arrives home.
You're under arrest on suspicion of fraud by false representation, OK? You don't have to say anything at man with defence, you do not meet you in question. Something you later line in court, and anything you do so may be given evidence, all right? But what we need to do is we need to search inside, all right? So we're looking for some items in particular. We'll speak to you about exactly the items that we're looking for once we get inside. What?
Got warrant?
No, we're going to search his property under Section 32 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, all right? That means so we can search for any items that we believe are relevant. We can search for any evidence at all, actually, under Section 32 for the place that you immediately come from, which is your home address.
With the legalities out of the way, the search gets underway, but the cameras remain outside. Almost an hour later, a man emerges from the property, having made an interesting discovery.
Some receipts there, one for £100, and just some paperwork and his mobile phone. The reason we seize his mobile phone is because we believe that any photographs that have been taken of tools are more than likely going to have been taken on the mobile phone. So what we do is we take that back to the police station, we'll download it, download all the data from it, and then from that we can pick the bones out of it and see what information we want from the data from the phone.
But weeding out documents isn't the only success of the day, because the team have also unearthed something that the local police will be very keen to take a look at.
One of the DC's gone out to the shed out in the back, there's like a little outbuilding. He heard some whirring from inside, and then our suspect has said that he's growing 50 cannabis plants there. So what we're doing now is I've called the local police force down to assist us with some uniform officers to dismantle it and seize it. What we'll do is we'll probably seize all of the plants and then from that take a specific sample, but it'll be a crime that will be more than likely investigated by police.
For a man and IFED, it's an unusual bonus. After all, it isn't every day they arrest a suspected fraudster with green fingers.
It's quite a sophisticated setup, so he's obviously taken quite a bit of time to put that together. The door's key-coded to get in, which is totally unique, something that I've not seen before in 9 years of policing.
As local police units arrive, the cannabis farm is dismantled and bagged up as evidence. As far as IFED is concerned, though, today was all about bringing a suspected insurance scammer to justice, and a man is happy with the way the raid has gone.
I think we've got more than enough to look at going forward. Obviously we won't know until we interviewed him, till he's given an account of what he's got to say.
As the last of the cannabis plants are removed, a man reflects on the morning's events.
Yeah, it's been a good result all round. Just stumbled across something that's quite important. Although not important to our case, it will have a big impact on the local community.
Every year, thousands of us Brits pack up and head off on our holidays. But unforeseen circumstances can mean that even the most perfectly planned trip away never gets off the ground. Thanks to travel insurance policies, we don't have to be out of pocket when disaster strikes. Although in 2013, the officers at the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department discovered someone who saw these policies as a means of lining their pockets.
Joanna Hunt is a case we dealt with last year. She was a mother of 3 children, and she booked a holiday to go to Lanzarote. She booked this holiday 2 weeks before the flight, and within 2 days she'd taken out 7 policies of insurance to insure her risk against travel. A couple of days before she was due to set off, one of her children became unwell, and she took that child to see her GP. And the GP agreed that the child was unwell and would be unfit to travel.
A child falling sick is one of those things that just can't be helped. But with 7 insurance policies in place, Joanne Hunt was able to help herself. And that's precisely what she did.
She made the claim on the policies. So the insurance company sent her the claim forms, and she made a claim on all 7 policies. So the holiday cost $1,600, and had she have been paid out on all 7, she would have been making about £11,000.
Almost £9,000 profit in the space of a few weeks wouldn't have been bad going. But fortunately, defrauding insurance companies isn't that easy.
The fraud was uncovered when the insurance companies, they do talk to each other, and they communicated that they were all about to pay out on a policy. So when they discovered that, they froze the payouts and they referred the case to ourselves.
With IFED now running the investigation, Joanne Hunt was brought in for questioning.
Joanne Hunt gave an explanation in interview which had to be checked out, so we went to see her GP. He confirmed that yes, he had seen the young daughter, and she had been unwell. The 7 claim forms were shown to the GP, and whilst he confirmed that he had signed one of the policies, he also said that the other 6 were forgeries of his own signature. In order to commit this fraud, Joanna Hunt had to forge several documents. The first one, of course, was the policy of insurance. She had to lie on that form to say she hadn't taken out other policies. She forged the signature of the doctor and also made a stamp from the surgery to authenticate the policy.
There was never any dispute over the fact that Joanne Hunt's child was unfit to travel. But because she'd lied and forged documents to claim on multiple policies, IFED were now dealing with a clear-cut case of fraud. But of course, Joanne Hunt had what she thought was a fair explanation of her actions.
At the time, I don't think she realised how serious this case was, but when she was interviewed in a police station by IFED detectives, she tried to explain that the reason why she took out the 7 policies wasn't in order to commit a fraud. She thought that she'd take out the 7 policies so that when the paperwork arrived, she would then look at the small print and then decide which policy she wanted to continue to take out. The remaining 6, she said she was intending to cancel, but she didn't. And she went on to claim on all 7 policies.
Unsurprisingly, IFED didn't buy Joanne's excuses, and so she was charged with 7 counts of fraud by misrepresentation.
Well, by the time she got to court, she realised that the court may not have accepted her excuses, and having taken legal advice, she pleaded guilty in court. She was sentenced to a suspended prison sentence, and she also received community service and a fine and costs.
Like so many other scammers, Joanne Hunt had been seduced by greed and the prospect of making easy money. But she discovered the hard way that fraud is a crime which doesn't pay.
Joanne Hunt was a young mother, 28 years old, mother of 3 children. So what set out to be a family holiday in Lanzarote, it turned into a nightmare for her, and she's lost her good name for life.
Having investigated cases like this for the past 2 years, Dom knows full well what the consequences of insurance fraud can be.
I think generally the fraudsters who commit these crimes, they do think it is a faceless crime, but in fact every person in the country who has a policy of insurance, whether it be for travel, whether it be household, whether it be health, we are all paying the extra on our policies because of these fraudsters.
With £2 billion a year lost through insurance fraud, companies are doing all they can to fight back. But one of the biggest problems they face is that lengthy investigations cost time, money and resources, which could be devoted to legitimate claims. The key to winning this battle is to try and identify fraudulent cases as quickly as possible. And one of the ways insurers are doing this is by using the likes of Sally Griffiths and her team of desktop investigators who are trained to spot dodgy claims over the phone.
What we're really listening out for is what they say, but also how they say it. Signs of nervousness, hesitation, any indication at all that the customer is perhaps buying time or being evasive, using like certain techniques that we call parroting, repeating the question back, so that we know that there's something not quite right, they can't answer the question fluidly.
But the advantages of these techniques don't end there, because Sally's team have also managed to identify which type of insurance fraudsters think is the easiest target.
People believe that it's easier to commit travel insurance fraud without getting caught, and also they believe that it's not going to affect their no claims discount as it would do for a motor or a household claim.
And believe it or not, travel insurance fraud can even be affected by the weather.
During the summer months, we do have an increase in claims coming through as people are obviously going on holiday. The particular trend that we saw last year involved the nice weather that we had in England, and we found that there was an increase in cancellation claims. So it seemed that people were cancelling their overseas holidays in order to save money on that holiday and then stay at home and enjoy the sunshine here.
So for anyone who thinks that conjuring up a bogus claim on their holiday insurance could be a nice little earner, Sally has some words of warning.
People think that making a false traveller's insurance claim is going to be really easy. They can just come on the phone and speak to someone and all be done and dusted. The reality is, if they're speaking to a trained investigator, every lie that they say will be picked up on and they'll be caught out.
Insurance fraud in the UK has hit epidemic levels. It's costing us over £2 billion every year. That's almost £6 million every day. Deliberate crashes, bogus personal injuries, even phantom pets. The fraudsters are risking more and more to make a quick killing, and every year it's adding over £50 to your insurance bill. But insurers are fighting back, exposing 15 fake claims every hour. Armed with covert surveillance systems,
that's the subject out the vehicle,
sophisticated data analysis techniques, and a highly skilled, dedicated police unit.
Police, don't move, stay where you are!
They're catching the criminals red-handed.
Just don't lie to us.
All those con men, scammers, and cheats on the fiddle are now caught in the act and claimed and shamed. Coming up, a fake insurance company that targets the elderly.
I think really you ought to write people rather than
no, well, we need to renew this today, and then it'll all come out in writing then, okay?
Yes.
Undercover filming lands a con man in the sin bin.
A further twist was that it was reported that he was suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome.
And IFED carries out a raid on a suspect.
You're never sure exactly what you're going to find until you actually go through that door.
Where would we be without a good bit of TV? We're a nation addicted to our set-top boxes, and many of us rely on product insurance to protect us if anything goes wrong. So it's a good job there are people like Jonathan Stockton, who was determined to make sure none of us missed out on the shows we loved. He ran a Swansea-based company that came under the remit of Trading Standards Rees Harris.
The company was selling a service package, maintenance package. Sometimes it was called insurance, but basically it was a product that if you had a Sky system and it broke down, they claimed that they would come out and fix it between 2 and 6 hours.
Sounds like a great idea. A service that will have you back up and running, or rather lounging, within 6 hours. Except, guess what? Yep, it didn't exist.
The company operated by cold calling consumers, and the only information they had when they would cold call them is the consumer's name, address, and also their telephone number.
Despite the fact they had so little information on the customers, their sales patter was pretty convincing.
They gave the impression that they were Sky, they were phoning from Sky.
But it was a total fabrication. None of the companies that the bogus insurance company pretended to represent had anything to do with the scam.
We cover all the Sky in the Wales area. Sky Protect is the English, and it's Sky Direct then, which is the Scottish one.
Instead of duping insurance companies with fraudulent claims, Stockton had taken it to the next level by setting up a fake insurance company of his own that preyed on innocent people. The victims were carefully targeted, with fraudsters deliberately calling during the day to catch elderly and vulnerable people at home.
Some of the calls were very distressing to us listening, but it was more distressing listening to the consumer reacting to the way that they've been being treated.
Now, every year you do renew, it is going to get
Now,
cheaper.
do you remember who took this out?
Sorry?
This time last year,
Yes.
my husband was alive,
Right.
and so he would have done it.
Oh, right, okay. Well, yeah, as I said, last year you did pay £99 for the year's cover.
You hear these consumers being quite fast in not wanting to give their car details over the phone. However, they would then eventually fold and give their car details over to these sales staff who quite cunningly got it out of them.
I think really you ought to write people.
Oh, no, well, we need to renew this today, and then it'll all come out in writing then within the next few days, so you can read over there. So which card would you like to use today? Is it your debit card there?
With such an aggressive sales technique, many people were confused, hounded, and even intimidated into buying the fake insurance.
Their general tactic was to bully. So if they would get someone elderly on the phone, they would push and push. In some cases, it was quite disgusting the way the sales staff would actually speak to these elderly and vulnerable consumers.
I don't know who you are.
I just said 3 times I'm calling regarding your Sky Television.
Yeah, what's the regarding then? Sky Television, what are you on about there?
Right, so if I'm calling regarding your Sky Television, what would you think I'm calling regarding then?
Insurance? Maintenance?
Oh my...
A team of 20 scammers worked at the bogus insurance call centre. They showed no mercy to their victims, bullying people into handing over their money.
Good afternoon, how can I help you?
I've just come round to my father's house. Somebody's rung up asking to renew the Sky. You've just rung up and asked him for a one-off payment of an 80-year-old man, a one-off payment of £89 to protect something that you don't even protect already?
Yes, we do.
You do not?
It was fraud on an industrial scale. Among the 7,500 customers targeted by the group was Carol Oatey.
Well, I was cold called out of the blue. I think it went along the lines of, we noticed that your satellite insurance has expired. Now, how they would know that, I don't know. I think that's just an opening line. And told me how expensive it would be to call an engineer out without satellite insurance. And I said, yes, okay. And gave them my bank details.
The fraudsters persuaded their victims to sign up to a yearly payment of between £70 and £100, with the promise that their satellite box would be covered 24/7.
I mean, £80 might not seem like a lot of money to some people, but when you're a pensioner, it is a lot of money.
In order to appear genuine, the company sent out paperwork to their victims. It was at this point that Carol realised something was wrong.
I went to file the paperwork and realised that I already had perfectly good insurance that hadn't expired. I don't think I've ever felt so embarrassed in my life, really, to think that I could have been taken in. But it really was a horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach that I'd been conned.
Sadly, Carol wasn't the only one. In a 2-year period, the callous fake insurance crew netted £500,000.
anybody who thinks that conning the elderly into giving away their money is a good way of earning a living should think again.
But the net was closing in. Unbeknownst to the scammers, victims had alerted Swansea Trading Standards. They started to investigate and identified the three men behind the company: Paul Delamere, Jordan Dimmett, and the boss, Jonathan Stockting. Evidence of organised criminal fraud mounted as more and more victims came forward, and Swansea Trading Standards decided it was time to pay the call centre a visit.
We struggled to get through a locked door. Once we got in through that door, sales staff went and rubbed their name off a board. Some of the staff tried to evade us going down the back stairs. And then when we were there, the fire alarm went off. I went to see the security guard in charge of the building, and he basically told us someone had set a false alarm off on the floor below us.
Once in the property, Trading Standards wanted to get to the hub of the fraudulent activity and needed to access the computers kept behind locked doors. It took a locksmith 3 hours to break in.
We got into the room, our computer forensic examiner looked at the computers and came back to us at a later date after we'd left the premise and told us that someone had remotely accessed that computer and deleted everything and tried to download something called Evidence Eliminator.
The operation had been stopped in its tracks. It was the last Trading Standards would hear from them for a while. Coming up, the fraudsters restart their fake insurance company again, but Trading Standards decide to shut them down once and for all.
This time we done a faster entry warrant where we took the police on entry, everybody was arrested, where they were sat.
It's thought that as many as 1 in 4 people have suffered a personal injury, a figure that won't come as a surprise to the insurance industry, which is seeing a dramatic increase in these types of claims. More than 1 million of these claims come from workplace accidents, like the one that David Ribchester suffered in February 2006. DCI Dave Wood, who heads up the Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, worked on the case.
Mr. Ribchester reported to his insurance company that he'd suffered an accident at work. He said he was up a set of ladders that collapsed underneath him. And as a result of the fall, he's injured both his wrists when he hit the ground. And as a result of that accident, he suffered life-changing injuries.
According to David, the lad had fallen on both of his wrists, which he claimed left him unable to do even the most basic tasks.
One was driving a car, 2 was playing his favourite sport, rugby, and lastly, and perhaps most important of all, he couldn't pick up his small daughter. And this was the worst thing for him, so he told us.
But David's injuries weren't just physical, as John Beadle from insurers RSA explains.
A further twist was that it was reported that he was suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome as a result of the accident.
With such serious physical and emotional damage, David's claim stacked up to a huge sum.
He claimed ultimately for £900,000 or thereabouts in terms of compensation to compensate for his loss of earnings and for the care that he would need going forward in his life.
It was a massive compensation bill, one which would have taken care of the 31-year-old for the rest of his life.
This case is one of the biggest single instances that IFED have investigated in its operation so far. Almost £1 million going to one person, for him, would almost be like a lottery win.
As with any large insurance claim, the insurers looked into it thoroughly, and they didn't like what they saw.
There came a point of time when we began to doubt the truth around the extent of Mr. Ribchester's alleged injuries and incapacity, and so we began to investigate. And as part of that investigation, we deployed some surveillance.
All seemed fine at first, but then they noticed something which blew his claim out of the water.
It showed a person going normally about their daily life, and there wasn't any apparent incapacity or injury that prevented him leading a normal life.
During the course of the surveillance, Mr Ribchester was seen driving his car. He told his insurers he couldn't drive a car. He was also seen shopping in a supermarket. Again, he told his insurers he couldn't carry out that task. On Mr Ribchester's birthday in July 2009, he was actually filmed hosting a barbecue at his home address, during which he erected some garden furniture. He greeted guests with a firm handshake of his right hand. He was seen flipping burgers on the actual barbecue itself, and also several times picking up his young daughter with his supposedly severely injured right hand.
The footage proved that David was lying about his injuries in order to inflate the size of his claim. But the surveillance didn't stop there, and what the police saw next revealed the shocking extent of his fraud.
The biggest nail in Mr Ribchester's coffin was actually the surveillance footage of him playing rugby at his local club. So there he is, grabbing the ball, gripping it tightly, fending off tackles, charging along the grass turf. Things that he said he couldn't do, would never be able to do for the rest of his days, clearly captured on surveillance footage, looking in quite fine fettle, running across the rugby pitch.
That surveillance footage was, at our request, shown to the medical experts, who, as a result, said that in their opinion that he was grossly exaggerating or making up the level of injury or incapacity that he was suffering from.
Clearly, David was trying it on. Armed with a wealth of footage, the insurers decided to tackle the fraud and pass the case to the police.
IFED detectives arrested Mr Ribchester at his home address in the northeast of England, and some months later he appeared at the Old Bailey, where he was charged with fraud by false representation. The judge, in fact, said this man was greedy, and he also went on to say that it's as a result of greedy men like Mr Ribchester that other genuine claimants could sometimes be put under scrutiny as a result of his selfish actions.
David Ribchester's foul play had well and truly landed him in the sin bin. For exaggerating his claim, the penalty was 8 months.
During IFED's operation, we seemed to come across two different types of fraudsters in this insurance fraud arena. One would be the organised criminals, the gangsters that do it for a living, and the other lot I would describe as greedy people that see an opportunity, potentially a meal ticket or a lottery win like Mr Ribchester.
Ironically, if Mr Ribchester had been honest about the extent of his injuries, he would have been legally entitled to about £250,000 compensation. But because he lied, the whole of his claim was thrown out, and he was left with no money, a prison sentence and a criminal record. Still to come, a rude driver's insurance claim hits the skids thanks to CCTV evidence.
There's no evidence of a slow joining of traffic, and as far as the creeping along goes, I'll let you be the judge of that.
And victims of the fake insurance company see justice served.
And how dare they do that to the elderly?
The Insurance Fraud Enforcement Department, or IFED for short, is an insurance scammer's worst nightmare.
There is a dedicated 40-strong unit that work 24/7 hunting down insurance fraudsters.
The team was set up over 2 years ago to crack down on insurance crime in the UK.
Is there anything here that shouldn't be here that we're going to find?
In that time, it's made over 450 arrests and seen over 200 prosecutions.
If it's a fraud, it's in insurance, then it may well come to IFED's attention, and IFED will take the necessary action.
Police officers, can you come to the door, please?
Today, DS Mark Forster and his IFED team are on their way to arrest a suspect in what they believe is a case of insurance fraud. It all started when the suspect racked up so many parking fines that bailiffs impounded their car.
She subsequently reported to police that her car has been stolen and also made a claim to the insurance company in relation to the theft of that vehicle.
Mark has deliberately organised an early morning raid so there's more chance of catching the suspect at home, and he's well aware of the challenges that his team could face when they go in to make the arrest.
you're never sure exactly what's behind the door. You can do your intelligence checks to give you a good indication of what you're going to find there and who you're going to find. But until you actually go through that door, you're never sure.
410, go ahead.
Yeah, can you show us on scene, please, CAD 1084?
They arrive at the suspect's address and get into position.
The little one.
Oh, right, okay.
Mark's hoping that the early start means the suspect is more likely to be at home.
Good morning.
And they are.
Police. I'll just speak to you inside, please. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Hang a sec, fella.
Just one of my colleagues comes in as well.
The cameras stay outside.
So at 5 minutes past 7, I'm arresting you on suspicion of committing fraud by false representation. You don't have to say anything, but it may harm expense if you do not mention when questioned something you later rely on for. Anything you do say may be given evidence. Do you understand?
With the arrest made, the operation has got off to a good start.
I don't think she was expecting us at all. She was quite surprised. My colleague, when he arrested her, she had no idea what it was about.
But the arrest is only the beginning. The success of the operation relies on finding evidence of the alleged fraud. IFED are searching for paperwork that relates to the vehicle. Luckily, the suspect is proving to be cooperative.
We've asked her, it's basically so we don't have to go through the whole house, where she keeps all her documents, correspondence, and she's indicated to us in her bedroom.
And that's just where they find potential evidence.
This is some of the evidence that we've seized from the property, from the bedroom of the lady we've arrested this morning.
Unusually for the IFED team, the potential evidence in this case is paper-based and doesn't involve phones or computers. Most IFED raids last several hours, but in this case, Mark's thankful that it's been relatively straightforward.
Very happy. It's all gone very smoothly. We're, in and out of the address within sort of 45 minutes. She's now on her way back to the City of London, where she'll be interviewed in relation to the fraud that we believe she's committed.
Mark's pleased with how the day has gone. The arrest has been made, potential evidence has been collected, and the investigation can now move on to the next stage. There's nothing more frustrating than coming home from a hard day's work, turning on the TV, and it's broken. But don't worry, if you've got insurance on it, you'll be sorted. Well, not if you're one of the 7,500 people who were cold called and bullied into buying a bogus maintenance package by Jonathan Stockton and his crew, who'd set up a fake insurance company.
You've just rung up and asked him for an 80-year-old man for a one-off payment of £89 to protect something that you don't even protect already?
Yes, we do.
You do not?
The group targeted elderly and vulnerable people with insurance deals that they didn't want, need, or in some cases already had.
I mean, £80 might not seem like a lot of money to some people, but when you're a pensioner, it is a lot of money.
After a mountain of complaints at Swansea Trading Standards, the team paid the phony operation a visit.
We got into the room, our computer forensic examiner looked at the computers and told us that someone had remotely accessed that computer and deleted everything.
With the fake insurance company closed, Trading Standards thought that would be the end of it. But it wasn't long before the complaints started to pour in again. It appeared that the company was still operating.
And at this point, we decided the only thing we could do was to raid the company again. And this time, we done a faster entry warrant where we took the police. On entry, everybody was arrested where they were sat, not allowing anybody to interfere with any of the evidence that we were going to gather.
This was the largest operation that Swansea had been a part of. It involved 50 police officers, along with various teams from the council. Despite this, the scammers had shredded all paper evidence. But the key to the crime was their calls.
We found call recordings, but those calls certainly helped us a great deal with our investigation.
Well, I don't want that.
Well, you don't want Sky Protect?
No, I don't want Sky Protect.
Right, okay. you know, if you need an engineer out for any particular reason at all,
Yeah.
an engineer will charge you £90 a call-out fee.
Right.
£100 a dish, and like up to £100 for the box, maybe a bit more for the HD box. Now, with you not having cover, there's nothing we can do about that.
What was perhaps more shocking was that this wasn't just a few fraudsters, but a team of around 20, all knowing that every day, every call was conning an elderly person out of money.
And you had a big sales floor which was populated by all these staff, and it probably they were looking up to 20 staff at some points in the business, and everybody in that business had to be aware what was going on and was implicit in it, and it was all linked and all very loyal.
The audio proved to be the killer piece of evidence that allowed the council to build a case against the scammers. They took Jonathan Stockting and 16 members of his team to court. It was the culmination of a 2-year investigation into a scam that had covered most of Wales and parts of England, dialing in an estimated £500,000. The weight of evidence against them meant that the 3 main players pleaded guilty to a conspiracy to defraud. Jonathan Stockting and Paul Delamere both got sentences of 4 years, and Jordan Dimmond was given 3.5 years. In all, the judge handed down jail terms totaling almost 30 years to 14 people involved in the scam.
When they were sentenced, we felt that this was justice for all those consumers who we either had to speak to or listen to, and the way in which they've been treated. It wasn't really how much that we felt, it was justice had been served for them.
People like Carol, who was a victim of the fraud.
It's like mugging, isn't it? It's mugging over the phone, and you feel justice violated, as if they'd hit you on the back of the neck. And how dare they do that to the elderly?
Buses are great. Well, if you haven't got a car. And let's be honest, when you're behind the wheel, the last thing you want to see is this. Being stuck behind a slow-moving bus can be frustrating. But for one driver, he thought it was well behind him, until it allegedly collided with him. Lee Ingram of First Group dealt with the incident.
When the other vehicle driver has submitted his claim, he has stated that he was creeping forward and the bus has just hit him straight in the back of the car and damaged the side of his car at the same time.
But when First Group asked for the bus driver's version of events, he had a completely different take on it.
The bus driver in this case clearly says that he was passing the third-party vehicle when the third party has given him the V sign and then pulled across straight in front of the bus, leaving him no opportunity to avoid a collision.
The two versions didn't add up. It was the claimant's word against the bus driver's. So Lee Ingram turned to his fail-safe backup, CCTV. The footage clearly supports the bus driver's account. Keep your eye on the red car on the left.
The first thing you notice from the footage is that the third party has clearly made up a set of circumstances to tell his solicitor in order to pursue his claim. There's no evidence of a slow joining of traffic, and as far as the creeping along goes, I'll let you be the judge of that.
The red car can be seen driving at a normal speed. But from the camera on the side of the bus, the car pulls in front of it, cutting it up and clipping it on the front.
CCTV footage is very important in circumstances such as this.
The footage shows the car driver wasn't telling the truth, but it also revealed something else as well. To add further insult, the driver just did that. Oh, hang on a minute, what was that? 2 fingers? Oh no, it's just the one. Well, that's a bit rude.
There doesn't really seem to be any logical reason as to why the other party should be so angry towards a bus driver. I know there are situations where some people just do not like buses getting in front of them in traffic. I think this is a particular case where the other driver has just decided to not let the bus through and has almost stuck his fingers up in a V sign to say, "No way, mate, you're not coming past me," and then decided to go for it in front of the bus. The claimant in this instance is clearly used to getting in his own way. On this occasion, he has tried to muscle in on a 12-ton vehicle, which might not have been the wisest of moves.
And his offensive behaviour didn't stop there.
After the accident, the third party was very abusive towards the bus driver, constantly using foul language. He claimed to have a sore neck and yet refused to have an ambulance called for him.
Despite this, he later submitted a claim for multiple personal injuries, but surprisingly, nothing for damage to the car. Because, as the CCTV showed, there was none. His motivation seemed to be personal gain.
He was heard to say that he was intending to get a new car out of this incident.
The only actual damage was a small scratch to the side of the bus. The CCTV proved that the claimant wasn't owed compensation because he'd never actually been injured. In fact, it showed that he owed them for the damage to the bus.
The claimant did not receive any compensation arising from this incident. We did, however, recover the £34.50 cost of repairing our vehicle.
More proof that it's better to keep both hands firmly on the wheel when driving.